Hi, I'm the developer of Spacecraft Tactics. In this video I will show you how to create your own scenes or levels. The scene editor is integrated into the game. You can start it from the main menu, go to Editors, Scene Editor. On the upper left you can find the usual functionalities like creating a new scene, loading, saving or exporting scenes. You can also share your scenes, I will show that later in the video, and you can also go to settings there. Next is the tool window. You can place different objects into the scene. So let's place, for example, this kind of object. You can move these objects. You can also clone objects, and you can edit various properties of these objects. I will also show that in the video how this works exactly. Let's start with some basic objects you can place. Spacecraft spawn points are points where all ships from the ship slots spawn. You can set certain properties of these spawn points. You can configure, for example, the radius where the ships can spawn. Ships can then spawn around that radius position. So just changing it here, 5, 10, I guess you see the point. You can also set the spawn point for certain teams, so that, for example, only team 0 or team 1, for example, can spawn there. This especially makes sense because you can, of course, also have multiple spawn points, and then depending on the game mode, maybe different teams can spawn at different locations. You can also enter a name on these spawn points, name 1, 2, 3. This can make sense for mods because you can configure that name in mod XML on the ship slot configuration to set a ship slot to spawn exactly at a certain position. Next is placing asteroids. So with this tool you can place asteroids in your scene. With this button you can also configure upfront before placing an asteroid some properties. So especially important the dimension. So let's just place a big asteroid. And the other two properties, prefix and suffix, are basically pointing to entities in the entity editor. So to determine the type of asteroid. So if I just place another asteroid, you can see it's another type. The color is different. And this is what you configure with prefix suffix. So there is, for example, an entity in the entity editor asteroid 0. There's an entity asteroid 1 and so on. For example, if I just want to have a certain type, I can change that property, and now I'm always spawning the same type of asteroid. There's another tool, asteroid field. For that one, it's definitely advisable to change the properties up front. So asteroid field, as the name already suggests, spawns a whole field of asteroids. So first of all, you can enter the diameter in X and Y dimensions of that field. Maybe 400, let's spawn quite a big field. Density, don't set that number too high. Let's say density 3 in our case. And dimension minimum and maximum are the sizes of the asteroids. Let's spawn small and big asteroids at the same time in our example. And the field is then centered around the point you're clicking. So I'm just clicking here. And yeah, you can already see in the minimap, now it has spawned a field of asteroids. Next is asteroid scenario. This is a single entity that then generates an asteroid field or an asteroid scenario, so the environment, at runtime when the game runs. So there are again certain properties. Minimum, maximum size is again the size of the asteroids that are then spawned when the scene is actually running. There's a minimum size for these two properties. Minimum must be at least 1 and maximum at least 2. Density, again, don't set that number too high. That's then the density of the asteroid field. Just play around a bit with that value. Velocity, this is optional. So these generated asteroids can have a certain velocity. And skip scene areas. This is especially important for mods when you're doing more scripting. and this decides whether this asteroid field would be also spawned within the areas where another scene has been spawned or not. You can also spawn dark matter. Before you are placing it, just go to Object Properties first and select a dimension of the dark matter object you want to spawn. And dark matter in the game is special stuff where various weird modules are made from, but from gameplay perspective, it mainly has gravity effects. So there are some properties, of course, as well. Area 0 and Area 1. If you scroll to the right, we see two radii. Area 0 basically is the main zone where that gravity effect takes place, and between Area 0 and Area 1 are basically objects pulled in to the regular gravity effect. Potential is basically the speed, the target speed. Then all the objects within that Area 0 will fly around the dark matter. And acceleration is how hard the dark matter gravity effect will pull on objects or, for example, your ship. Image surfaces basically are, as the name already suggests, are just showing a certain area of a tileset without having any other purpose. So just showing a tileset. So let's go to properties. In our example, let's take the tileset object rift.png. It always starts with position 0, 0. These are tileset positions. Rifts have dimension 12, as far as I remember. Yeah, there's a rift. You can also set whether this tileset is destructible or not. And as I mentioned, it's only showing, so it has no functionality. You can also spawn mines into your scene. So, mines quite dangerous. You don't want to bump into these. There are certain properties. By default, there are three sizes of mines: S, M, and L. Of course, the bigger the size, the more dangerous. Custom entity def name would be if you want to create in the anti-editor your own type of mine, then you could point your entity name there. Radius is the echo radius, so the mine gets active when a ship enters that radius. And team is the team the mines belong to, so to detect whether, of course, friendly ships are not engaged by mines. So 256 is the standard team number for AI. And if you want, for example, that the mines are in the same team as players, you can just enter a team number there. You can also place portals into your scene. From the campaign, you can then jump from portal to portal in the portal network. First properties are about the tileset that has to be used for the portal. Every portal has to have a name. This has to be a localization constant, and this describes the name of the portal, and this is also shown in the list when you select where to jump to. You can disable a portal by default, and you can also decide whether it is a rift or not. So if you select rift, you also need to change manually the tileset, that it's also already looking like a rift. So object rift png, and this would be the tileset for rifts. Portals can also have a fixed destination. This means that you cannot jump then everywhere in the portal network, but just from that portal to a certain other portal. And height and portal network, this is also in that sense also connected. This decides whether your portal is shown in the portal network when selecting a jump destination or not. You can also directly spawn ships into your scene, but please don't mistake that with spawning AI ships. This will be other objects. I will show that later in the video. These are then just, let's say, there for decoration. So with that tool, just select a certain ship, and then this is spawned into the scene, but it's not controlled by any AI. It's just sitting there then. Load from ship editor display restricted is a similar idea, so just select a ship. But this time, I mean, yeah, in the ship editor, yeah, the scene editor, yes. But then when running that scene, then you cannot see inside of that ship. Okay, now the interesting part begins. So with the AI tool, you can spawn an AI ship. It's better to say a spawn point for AIs, and when the scene is being loaded, then the actual AI will spawn there at runtime. So there are of course certain properties. First of all, you need of course select a ship that has to spawn at this location. You can select a crew manager. There is only a default crew manager, but there could be an own implementation in the mod of other crew behavior. These managers in general decide the behavior of the crew, but also of the spacecraft itself. There are certain different types of spacecraft managers. I will explain that shortly. Radius is the radius where this AI ship will spawn. It makes sense to increase that radius if you also increase the count, so the number of AI ships that will spawn, that they also have, all of them have to have enough space to spawn at once at runtime then. And of course also the team of these AI ships. 256 is the default AI team, but you could also, for example, spawn AIs that are then fighting alongside of players. Just change the team here. Very similar is the spawn random AI tool. It works quite the same. The only difference is that you can select from multiple different ships, and the tool will then spawn one of these ships randomly. There are also AI spawn portals. You probably know that from the campaign. These are usually then your priority targets. So very similar properties like you already saw before. The upper part is about the tile set that is being displayed. Storage file name is then basically to select the AI that has to spawn there. Crew manager, spacecraft manager as before, radius. The only additional thing to note is disable portal. So depending on your scene and also scripting you have in your scene, sometimes it makes sense that, for example, portals are disabled at the beginning and then it will be enabled by some trigger. I will now explain the different AI spaceship manager types. So first of all, passive, similar to none, but basic ship functions are managed, but the ship won't move or will not take any action. Floating, the ship will just float in space, for example in a dark matter gravity well, but it will, for example, fire at enemy ships if they get in range. Bandit, ship will sit at its position. If an enemy ship gets into sight, it will intercept it and engage. Artillery, ship will stay at its position, but it will fire at any ship in range. The difference to floating is that it will hold its position, also fly back to its position if necessary. Space station, similar to artillery, but it will not rotate the ship. Next is the controlled bandit type. This is similar to the regular bandit type, but a controlled bandit will patrol between defined waypoints and engage any enemy ship on its way. To configure that, you need to place an AI bandit control, this one, entity next to the AI spawn point and configure the names of the waypoints. In my case, BC0 and BC1. The waypoints are AI destination entities. These ones, don't mistake them with AI waypoints. This is something different. And just place these AI destinations and set that label. In this example, it's quite compact, but of course, these waypoints could be far away, even also spawned in different scenes. So just the label is important there. Controlled guards are similar types. The difference is that controlled guards are best to patrol and defend a local area. All waypoints must be also in the same scene. To configure controlled guards, you need to place an AI guard control entity. This is this one. No, sorry, this one. An AI guard control entity next to the spawn point. These entities have certain properties. Label is optional, just for your organization. With control groups, you can define different groups to patrol in the same scene without interfering each other. Don't forget to set the index of the patrol point. So it starts with 0, the next patrol point would be index 1, and the next index 2. As soon as it reaches the last patrol point, it will fly back to the first index again. Acro radius should be clear. This is just the radius when the guard is getting aggro. And maximum distance is just the radius, so that's basically a second radius when the guard will disengage again. Transporters are not actively engaging fights, although they fire on enemies if in range, but are mainly flying between points. You need to place an AI transporter control entity next to it to configure the waypoints. So just properties, there are up to 5 waypoints, just configure them. Again, as waypoints, set these AI destination entities, not the AI waypoint entities. Just set a label there, and the transporter will then fly all the time between these points. Last type are escorts. These will then escort transporters or, if no transporter is in range, players. They will stay close to their target and engage any enemy in sight. Let's assume we have a controlled bandit in our scene and the direct path between two waypoints is blocked. So there's the second waypoint, but yeah, there's quite a narrow path. Although AI evasion works well in normal situations, AIs don't have pathfinding. So they will avoid asteroids or any other object well, but they will not find their way out of a maze. For situations like in my example, you need to provide a hint to the AI how to navigate. Okay, I've added these AI waypoints. So if these AI waypoints are, let's say, in a path the AI would usually take, so that would be blocked in this case, it will, instead of that, take these waypoints. So in this case, take the right path, and then after the last waypoint, then continue heading towards the actual waypoint. An important part that makes the difference for your scenes is scripting. Scripting entities can be placed into the scene. You can select then from scripts from the list that have been shipped with the game core. Let's just use, in our case, log object in place script. Many scripts also use a radius and are placed next to some objects they influence. If you have selected a script, you can also enter additional information specific to a script. So let's, for example, choose music area. And then there are additional informations to enter. Many mods come with more scripting entities. Select a mod from the list to see these scripts. So let's select the official multiplayer mod, and then we can also see scripts from that mod. There are 4 standard scenes shipped with the game for custom game mode. These 4 standard scenes are showcasing different types of missions that can be realized with the built-in script. You can load these scenes in the shared dialog. Import local file, go to bin, game core, storage, scenes player, and select the file you are interested in. Files that are you loading from the game core are read-only, but the point is to check how it was made. Let's start with the core attack station XML. This scene basically lets the player attack a space station. So the spawn point is right at the bottom of the scene. There is one scripting right next to it. The scripting entity, it's set objective. and as the name already suggests, it basically shows a text as your objective and also provides an objective marker that in the minimap you see where you are heading to. Marker entity label, so basically it shows in the minimap the position of a marker entity, and this is a marker entity and it has this label. So player spawns over there. There are some asteroids also in this scene, some mines, spawn portals. The AI itself is configured as controlled guard, and there are several patrol points around that station where the guards are then patrolling and engaging enemies inside. This is the spawn point of the station. It has, of course, space station, spacecraft manager type. There is a message, just a dialogue that is shown when the player enters a certain radius, 200. It's quite big, that radius. So, yeah. And when that station has been destroyed, then the marker is being reset and also the objective text is changed, basically to indicate to the player that the mission has been completed. In the next example, players have to attack a transport ship, core attack transport XML. So again, the player starts at a certain point. Already as soon as the player spawns, also the objective is set. Also a marker is set again that the player also knows where to head to. So let's just scroll down to the transporter. There's the transport ship being spawned. It's of course AI type transporter. And there is the transporter AI control that defines some certain waypoints where the transporter is basically flying between. This is already such a waypoint, so there's just a label there. And in case that the player arrives at a certain radius, there's also an objective just being updated. It of course has certain escorts, and these ships have the spacecraft manager type escort. So they will just stay close to the transporter and engage any enemy inside. There's also an asteroid scenario scripting entity spawned. This ensures that over the all scene at runtime will be just an asteroid belt spawned. Last but not least, there's again an next objective when destroyed entity, and this scripting entity basically changes the objective to text to indicate that when the transporter has been destroyed, that the mission has been accomplished. It is important to place that entity next to the transport ship because it will check whether the transporter has been destroyed or generally the ship has been destroyed. It will check the closest ship when the scene is spawned. Next example is core breakthrough XML. In this scene, we have to break through a heavily guarded area. So again, at the spawn point, we already have some scripting entities. Set objective to set the marker the marker on the minimap again, that the player knows where to fly to, and also setting the objective text. Show dialogue, so there will also a dialogue appear once the player has been spawned, and that asteroid scenario scripting entity ensures that everything is, let's say, within an asteroid belt. So this just looks prettier in our case. So we can see it's quite heavily guarded, that area. So first of all, there are some controlled guards. They are just patrolling here, just flying and between these points and engaging everything inside. So we have these controlled guards, and there are these AI guard control entities. Next is that spawn portal. So this one's also spawns controlled guards. So these guards will also patrol along this line. There is an AI spawn portal in Wafis script. So as you can see, there's also a second spawn portal. And this AI spawn portal in Wafis script ensures that first only this AI spawn portal is active, and only when this one has been destroyed, another one will spawn. So for that, they have the same control group, P0, and also P0, because somewhere else in the scene you could also have other of these groups, and these have an index. So this is wave 0, and this is wave 1. So as soon as this portal has been destroyed, this one will appear and then also keep spawning AIs. This also, by the way, is then not of type controlled guard, but just bandit, because it's some meters away from the other guards. But yeah, as soon as the whole area has been cleared, the next objective when area cleared scripting entity will get active, and just again change the text of the objective and reset the marker on the minimap. Okay, our last example is a bit different. This time we don't attack, this time we defend a station. Core defend station XML. So first of all, we have a couple of entities and scripts placed where also the players spawn. So players, of course, always in these custom scenes spawn with their ships selected in the ship slots. There is this AI being spawned in the team of the player, so team 0, and without any crew or spacecraft manager type. And this one is actually a space station. But in order that it's really getting a station that's also occupying a ship slot, so that also players can enter that station then when playing the game, there is a certain script necessary, respawn as space station. Just place it next to that station. Team 0, of course, again, players can enter, of course, and this ensures that the station that is spawned here is then added to a ship slot, and then also players get that enter station dialog. You know that probably from the campaign, and then can enter that station. In this case, then also, for example, control the weapons there for further defense. Of course, we also show a dialog and set an objective that the player knows what to do. And there's also that asteroid scenario scripting entity that we get a nice asteroid build around the actual area. But we also have some asteroids already placed in the battle area. The Wafis are solved again with that AI spawn portal in Wafis scripting entity, but this time there are lots of more control groups and lots of more waves. And the spawn portals themselves are of type controlled bandit, and bandit control all these bandit controls just point to a single waypoint, and this waypoint is right at the center where also the station is. This ensures that although the spawn portals are a bit away from the actual battle, that the AIs that are spawning there are always flying towards that station and then engaging that station. I hope this video was useful for you, and I'm definitely looking forward to play some scenes created by the community in Steam Workshop. If you are interested how to bundle these scenes as Steam Workshop mods, or even how to implement your own scripting entities in Groovy programming language, I've uploaded a separate video to my YouTube channel that describes that in detail. There's also a detailed modding documentation available on the official website www.spacecraft-tactics.com. So, thank you for watching, and enjoy the game.